And welcome to our show, Film Talk with AJ Dean. I'm AJ Dean, your host. And wow, I have a super special VIP in the building. I am so thrilled and so honored to have Erik Cornelius here. He is an actor, he is a writer, director, associate producer, painter, artist, and he's done additional crew. And let's give him a super warm welcome because I'm absolutely over the moon and thrilled to be talking with Erik Cornelius. Hey, Erik, all the way from New York. How are you?
Great. How you doing, AJ?
I'm so happy. I'm so
Good to
happy.
see you.
So good to see you. And you know, you are a legit New York actor. You can say that because even though you're from the Seattle area and also spent some time in California, you now live in New York. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of been my journey so far. I've just been here a little over a couple of years now. So, um, yeah, yeah, coming from the Northwest to the East Coast, it's quite a move. You mentioned
It,
California. I had gone down there. That was right before the pandemic. And once I actually got into New York, it seemed really accessible. Um, because of the proximity to things. There are studios, a lot of TV work comes out of here, and traditionally it's been the way of the theater and coming up through those means. So yeah, I felt like for me that was the case, and I think still is for a lot of people anyway.
Absolutely, because Broadway is there. Have you seen any Broadway shows at all during your time there?
Yeah, yeah, I have. I actually have some theater buddies from Olympia, Washington, and sometimes, we've gone out and watched, Broadway. I've actually helped load in an off-Broadway play. I've been able to see that, and a few other things along the way. I did a show that was on Broadway, but I wasn't acting or anything. So it was just part of production.
Wow, what was that?
So it was a convention basically, and a hotel that happened to be right on Broadway. So we could hear the show from next door, the musical, a little bit seeping through. That was kind of a funny experience. So
Incredible. Well, you're definitely in the hot spot, I would say, being in New York. You're doing all these wonderful events and you have friends there, which is great. I know that's super important. And I also want to touch on and talk about this great poster, Killers of the Flower Moon, and this incredible photo that we have of you, Erik, and you're all dressed up in a very specific wardrobe. Can you share with us and talk to us about your wonderful experience? It's kind of a once in a lifetime thing.
yeah, I mean, for me, once again, that kind of started right before I went down to California, right before the pandemic. I had seen somewhere online a mention of this Leonardo DiCaprio and Scorsese film, and I kind of was saying to myself, somehow I'd like to get in there because they were, I think it was a auction or something. They were giving away a prize of a walk-on role, and I was just kind of thinking to myself that would how great that would be. And so um, I went down to California through this time, and time passed, and the pandemic was happening, so I didn't hear anything about it for a long time. And then I get to New York, and everything films under a code name project, projects, whatever. In this case, it happened to be Grey Horse. If you see the film, you might get the reference. But um, I I went down there for a few days to, well, at that time we had to, you see the mask, and I had to do a COVID test, and then we could do wardrobe, and then we would go back to the studio, do COVID test, then get cleared to do hair. And so the wardrobe, they just um, would bring you in and then see what kind of looks good. They'd have you try on a few different things, of course, and maybe have an art director come over and say, yeah, take a few more pictures. And uh, so then the day of, I get there, and there's quite a few people. It's a huge production and everything, and the it's actually at Martin Scorsese's old high school. And I don't know if you know that part of the story, but yeah, at one time he was studying, I believe, to be a priest, and so this is his old school there in Brooklyn. I mean, the Bronx, sorry, and um, so I just felt like, wow, this is pretty crazy to be on in his old school in New York on this film set, and to be a part of this production. And I was, you know, studying, listening to some of the radio plays that he had, uh, Scorsese had mentioned that he was listening to and in researching for the role and everything. And what happened was we were on, kind of in an auditorium. There's a stage, and then I got to see um, Scorsese do some directing, and then of course, if you've seen it, you see he's acting a little bit in there. So I got to see that whole interaction, and then he's got his wife there on set, and it just felt like a really cozy family atmosphere. And he was having fun, the crew was having fun. I mean, it's really neat to see him in his element, so relaxed, just doing what he does, and kind of like a conductor or something, just kind of letting things go. And my admiration for him goes beyond as like a film historian, restoration for film, and just to be there just seemed like, this is some part of history in one way. And yeah, and then I got to see it in a theater here in New York too. So that was a pretty cool experience.
This is incredible. And I love Martin Scorsese. I respect him so much. And this really is so fascinating to me because I admire him as a director, and I know you do too. And when you were on set, did you feel, I've seen on Instagram he has a lot, he's very high energy and high vibe and good energy. Did that come across when you were watching him, or was he very focused and analytical? Tell us a little bit about that, your observation.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know he is very animated and quick and stuff, but it is a really relaxed, focused kind of um, thing at work. If you see people in charge, they do just seem to have kind of a command of their art, and everybody wants to be involved in that and wants to see that happen. And so I think he's got a good rapport with his crew and everything, such that if you know Jack White from the White Stripes at all, he happened to be on set that day, and um, he was sitting right be I turned around and I was like, that's Jack White. And um, somebody shook his hand, and then he turned around and shook my hand, and I got to talk to him about seeing his shows. But his relationship with Martin Scorsese was that it was kind of in between takes and everything. And I'll just say Marty says, yeah, Jack, get back to work. So it was just kind of this playful banter that they had going back and forth. And you could see that because, there's, I don't know, a couple of dozen people on stage, plus the film crew. That's just the crew to make the stage look like it's got a crew for the film, then several hundred other people, and just this whole thing where I could imagine anybody else might um you'd see that stress or that people would be yelling and not making the situation any better, where he just seems really relaxed. And um, I think in the end that gets him what he wants um, on screen.
Amazing, amazing. And on your Instagram, you have this picture, and it says, wardrobe by Martin Scorsese. Did they pick this out? He picked this out for you? Is it what did you play? Were you in a certain scene? Where can we see you in the film?
So this part is at the tail end of the film. It's kind of the recounting of the story we've just watched, right? So I'm just a part of that audience. So it's kind of after the fact. Um, and so yeah, if you recognize Martin Scorsese, and that's the scene that I was part of, and um, the wardrobe, yeah, that's just art department and the wardrobe. I don't know what kind of chain of command that goes through, um, but I'm sure that they've had somebody go pick out, because it's really interesting. When I walk in there, they had photos from the era, like Old Life magazine posted up. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense that they would just style have base the look on everything they could, basically get a collage on the wall of like, okay, this fits, and then assemble all that. Like the suspenders, they were like, well, should that be suspenders or a belt? Let's look at this tie, and they're doing all this kind of stuff, and then let's see you with this person, and then that kind of stuff. Like on the day they'll say like, okay, you guys line up, take the picture, and then they'll come through and be like, okay, take that hat off and give somebody a vest or whatever, that kind of stuff. So that's interesting to see too.
Yeah, and so much fun too, because it's like it's creating art right there, and you're part of it. And
Mhm.
I love this so much. So, did you hear about it when you were in California, and then your management got you the role, the part, or
No,
how did you get it?
no, basically it's just I between the move from or to New York, I found out about doing background work and these kind of things, and um getting on set that way. So just to get the experience, um,
Bravo,
that I've
Eric.
done that I've done some of that stuff,
Yeah.
and that was before I had management. So um, that happened pretty quick when I got here too, like looking for management. And whereas when I went to California, I really didn't have a direction in that sense. And when I got to New York, I I felt like I knew that a direction better, because I've done theater, and so I know that there's that progression. That they, especially during COVID, I knew a lot of theater actors were doing TV work at that time,
Mhm.
because the stages were dark. So yeah.
Incredible. And just to let you know, and well, you know already, but just to let everybody, our audience know, you're represented by Dreammaker Talent Management. Is that right, Eric?
Mhm.
In New York. So I just love that. Because things are coming together for you. And this is, like I said, I think I said before the show, I was saying, it is really a special thing to be in Killers of the Flower Moon, because Leonardo DiCaprio is in there. It's a Martin Scorsese film. I mean, these are legends. Martin Scorsese, he's a legend. So I'm just so proud of you. And you're doing great. You're knocking it out of the park. You're really doing great, Eric. And I also do want to say how we met. I want to thank Judah Ray. I want to give a special thank you to Judah Ray, who's a wonderful
Hey,
Hollywood,
Judah.
yeah, right, a wonderful Hollywood screenwriter, Judah Ray, and he, introduced us. And so I just want to give a shout out and thank you to him. And I appreciate that so much. And so, Eric, did you want to share anything else about that time? I know you said that's like kind of secret. Did they bust you up? Was it, did you have to be like, it's on a need to know basis, right?
Oh, for that project
Yeah,
specifically,
yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, they just, they tell everyone that, you can't talk about it really, and that they put, that's why they do it under code names, right? And
yeah,
they don't want you to post about it, which makes sense. And I did some of that background for Succession too, because once again, I was just going to be there for the day, just find out. Like I didn't know of the show, but if I get cast on something, I'll try to find out what it is and I'll research it. And that show, I got hooked. I had to watch the whole thing, so I'm like binge watching the whole series. And like I they didn't use me the first day. So I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. And they called me back. They said, you're an employee of the family business in the show. Do you want to do it? So that's why I said, yeah, I'll come back and do that. And yeah, that was interesting because it was like many different locations and a few different wardrobe type things, but a lot of people again, once again, and everything. So um, yeah, that was that was fun.
amazing. We loved Succession, and just to be a part of that, that's
Mm-hmm.
another historical, really good writing, really good acting,
Mm-hmm.
just an incredible film production to be a part of. And I,
Yeah.
we just like you I wanted to see every, I wish there was another season. Of course, it's,
Yeah, I know.
it
Yeah.
was so good. I do have one more question about this wardrobe. Did you get to keep it?
No, no. That'd be great, huh?
I just wanted to say, you could duplicate it, because it's kind of a cool, it is cool. It's era period type, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the paisley. And I
Mm-hmm.
love the color red. It just pops on the pinstriped shirt the striped shirt you're wearing and the suspenders. It's very classy and it's very 1950s, 1940s. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think it was supposed to be 40s specifically.
Yeah.
And I think they might have given me a hat and a coat or something, like wardrobe complete, and that feels good to be able to just go there and they've got the whole thing and you just
Yeah.
put it on, and if then they do your hair and all this kind of stuff. And
I was gonna say
that
that your hair's done there. Did they do makeup as well?
they don't really do makeup. As far they might do some stuff that's like a shine, or I think the most I've ever, yeah, like theater stuff, but
Hmm.
there's a little bit of makeup sometimes, but generally for guys they say no. um
Yeah.
and yeah, like this last thing I did too, they look at me and like, no, they're like, you're done.
You,
So
you don't need
it's
it.
not even worth. Yeah, they don't like it for guys usually. So
Right,
um
right. It's good.
but yeah, but that's the thing about like a Scorsese film, that he's going to research that really good. They're going to have, you know, their the team going to be trying to get the best stuff, everything to look just right. I mean, like the ladies' hair of the time, of course, is just like, set and immaculate, and the, like the attention to detail on every single one, even just for the way back audience member, or some crew member you might not even see. It's just phenomenal.
Fabulous, fantastic. And Eric, how many days were you on the set?
A couple days only, but that was fun.
So great. And I think it's the most amazing film. this year or last year. The most amazing film. So I encourage everybody to check it out and watch it. Killers of the
Yeah,
Flower
look, Lily Gladstone. She really, really did an impressive job on that.
Moon. Wow, just so incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. I just love talking about, film and film analysis, and we're going to get to talk about that in a little bit. But right now on screen, we've got CBS East New York, and you really, I mean, you've played, was it Lloyd James?
Yeah, Lloyd Turner.
Lloyd Turner, that's it. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's,
And
it only lasted one season, actually, the series.
But you know what? This is amazing because I love FBI and cop series, and it's on Prime Video. You can watch it. You can watch Eric on Apple TV Plus. It's on Google Play. Um, what was it like to play a character like this? He was being interrogated, wasn't he? He was being
Oh yeah.
questioned, interrogated. What was that like, Eric? Because
Well,
you're a super nice guy, right?
yeah, I
And
mean when this audition came in, I um studied it over quite a bit and analyzed it. If you've ever done some script analysis, you kind of dig into it. Um, each actor has their own way, of course, but I was trying to come from a non-judgmental place, and it, in the past, I might have tried to immediately try to do it one way or another, and in this case, I was saying, well, he's innocent here, and I've got to do whatever I can to portray that. So I played around with it quite a bit, and I um, more recently looked through some of my tapes, and I did quite a few takes of it, but I was working through a bunch of different things, and some of it technical, and some of that process. Um, so once I got the part, excited when my manager called and she told me I got the part, and then getting the whole script. And by that time, I think it might have changed even a little bit, but just to go to the table read, and I was in the dressing room for the table read, and all the actors are there at the table read. um, going through going through the script is pretty simple with that,
mhm.
just a pretty flat read, but you kind of get a sense of it. So that was pretty interesting to be exposed to the crew that way, just kind of slowly. And for like the picture you see there was my, let's see, I think that would have been my second day on set. Um, my first day, yeah, I'm in three scenes, and so that was a scene each day, and they were kind of easy on me. They worked me up. Like the first day, I only had a couple of lines, and um, let's see, the second day that you see there, I I had a thing where I think I added the second a word twice, and so someone came over to me and said, "Hey, you're adding this word," and I said, "Oh, okay." It just kind of felt um, a little weird to say it that way, and she goes, "Oh, we could talk to the director," and I was like, "No, I don't want to make a big deal about it or anything," but she goes, "Hey, Mo," and yelled at the director, and he goes, "Well, what was he saying?" However he said it, that's fine. And I was just like, "Oh, okay, that's great." So I felt
Cool.
like I kind of um was to work through that process from a little bit of a creative, where I had heard kind of nightmare stories about that, and to go back to my first experiences with New York and doing some training and everything, I kind of was working on procedural cop show scripts and scenes from that. So basically, I was kind of imagining myself in some of those kind of parts anyway. Um, but yeah, this one seemed to be pretty particular. And, you know, the script kept changing from day to day, like I was reading it and my scene wouldn't even be that day, but I could see there's changes throughout. And I had heard that too, like TV moves really, really quick. So they've got to cast it, book it, write it really, really quick, and then even changes. And, you know, leading up to my big scene, he the director comes and he's like, I don't know if you heard, but I want this done really, really fast, as fast as possible. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And that, no, I don't know where I would have heard that if not from the director. So I, luckily, my scene partner was very gracious and gave me, uh, the time that it took to just get that scene right. We came in and did it in a couple of takes, and the director, so on my last line, just being in character, and the training coming back to my head, like, don't break character until they say cut. Well, the director's right outside of the room in the hall, Video Village, watching the monitor, and at the very last second he says, uh yell, I didn't do it. And so I yell, I didn't do it. And then I just kind of did a different, a softer version of that, just for variety if they wanted to cut it. And both of those are in the end result. So
Yay.
um,
Both of
to
them made it
think back at
in.
what's that?
Both of them made it in because you're so good.
Yeah.
See?
Plus, see, they had cut out a couple of lines too, I think, earlier that just didn't make sense or didn't sound right too. And I was like, I wasn't really worried about that, but yeah, that he added a couple of lines back in. So that's one thing. It was like, well, I'm glad I didn't just think that that was the end of the scene. I just
Mhm.
stayed in it, and he, um, the director could yell things at me and I'd react or whatever. And I really like that, mode of filming. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and so he was great. He's an actor as well, so he was really easy to work with. But um, just being open to that, let him say that, and that he left that in was something else. Yeah.
Wow, so great. And it sounds like a wonderful experience too. And you're a great actor, Eric, because you've done theater and you've done film and then you've done TV, which is fast, and they're all similar in some things, but a little different in the timing and blocking and all that stuff. But I think it's so important to be, a variety actor like you are, and you've got so many skills. So that's incredible. And also, you mentioned cops. You played a cop, and you've got one here. I've got one here. What was this for?
Yeah, I believe that's Playboy Bunny, the Playboy Murders.
The Playboy Murders. Okay, so let's go to that picture right here just for a moment. This is the Playboy
Yeah,
Murders, and then also these are the Playboy Bunny, right? So, what happened to them, right? The Playboy.
yeah, focusing on a lot of their stories,
Hmm.
and the events surrounding them.
Okay, and then also, is it around the Playboy Mansion? Is this the mansion, or where is this? What's this picture? This is a great on
So
location picture. Take it away.
yeah, that's actually in New Jersey. So they found this, old mansion over there. So we're just pulling up to set there, and I just love the look of that place. Doesn't that look like something out of Psycho or Alfred Hitchcock movie? And get in there, it's like old wood, and
Wow.
just kind of like, it did look remarkably like you would think of the old Playboy Mansion and the photos and old movie clips, that I've seen. Um,
Wow. So much fun. And so that was when did you do that?
let's see, that would have been, I believe that was early last year. Um,
Okay.
and then the episodes are out now. So,
Wonderful.
um, th- yeah, I just got an email last month about more episodes coming out.
Okay, great, super. And let me go back to this picture here because I want to touch on Seattle Nights. You're also a versatile actor with poetry, and Seattle Nights had something to do. It was an event with poetry. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a book of poetry that I published while I was in Seattle.
Wow. So how can people buy this?
How can they?
Yeah.
Um, it's on Amazon.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Kin
congratulations.
yeah, Kindle, Amazon Kindle.
Okay. And so you love the written word, you love words. Um, and so what inspired you to make this book and write a book of poetry, Eric?
Um, so I've written poetry and among other writings for probably since junior high. So whatever that is, teenager years that I'd keep, journals and things like that. And
Right.
during this time in Seattle, I met up with somebody and we'd always meet in the library and we just kind of were cooking up ideas and, you know, like writing video games and writing books and poetry and we were just kind of betting each other like, hey, we should publish this stuff. And then with Amazon Kindle publishing, found out that that was possible, and actually gave a I basically wrote it at the library and published it there, and end up giving a talk about that process at the library in front of about 50 people that came and
Amazing. Amazing. How did it
yeah.
make you feel to speak about that in front of a group of 50 people?
Yeah, that was a tremendous because I didn't have high hopes that people were going to come anyway, and the first few people came in and it was like, oh, this is great. Like I'm feeling ecstatic, like now I have someone to you know talk to about it. And
Yeah.
because we had also met up for like poetry meetings and readings at the library, and so um there was supportive people there as well.
Hmm.
But it when you're in a group of people, it just makes it that much more of an ecstatic feeling, I suppose.
Definitely, definitely. And we all love a little bit of William Blake, the poet, right? That type of thing. We all
Yeah.
so that's wonderful. Congratulations on that. And so I'd
Well,
encourage
thank you.
everybody to, yeah, go on Amazon and buy Eric's book, Seattle Nights, if you love poetry. And I know a lot of people do. So definitely check that out. Okay, now I wanted to also just show this again. Here's the poster for East New York. And like I said, FBI and cop series are so, there's, they're so popular. There's another one called, I think, Blue or something like that. Um,
Mhm.
Female cops and stuff like that. It's just, it's an incredibly hard job, and especially today, and in today's world, to be, a policeman and work in that environment, and yet they're so needed in this world for
Mhm.
you know for help. But did you envision yourself as uh you know working on, did you say, yeah, that type of role totally suits me, when you worked on East New York? Did you think that, did you identify with the police of Playboy murders, or did you identify more with the guilty uh, character of East New York, or both?
Uh, well, yeah, that's the thing. So he's not guilty in
Oh, he's
East New
not?
York, but he's not.
Oh,
I guess
that's
I shouldn't spoil it because if somebody wants to still see it, but that's the thing because there is kind of like a couple of red herrings basically, and um, and then there's me, where it's like I'm not, uh, I'm a suspect basically, um, and I don't even know, like, yeah, I think without going too far into it, one cop wants to get pin it on me, is like, this guy's got to be it, and then the chief comes in and says, you got to let him go,
yeah,
basically. So um
because you're innocent, right?
yeah, and so, you know I don't know if I identify with it so much, but that was kind of the job of the audition, right? To see
Mhm.
how I can make that um real to me. Like, I didn't do it, whatever that means. Like, I don't know what you guys heard, or like, I was over here and he is really trying to grill me. And so that in itself was fun too, because like I said before, he went in there and made sure I was down, that our scene was down pat. And then he just gave it to me. He's slamming on the table and everything, and I could get real reactions from that. And
Yeah,
once I had that, and I felt like,
that's how the
because
process is, right? That's how, I'm sorry to
yeah.
interrupt. That's how the process is if someone is questioned, isn't it? It's kind of a stressful environment,
Hmm.
right? It's someone slamming on the table. How did that make you feel, Eric? Did that pull you more even into the
Yeah.
character?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because by the time I'm done, like, I'm all sweaty, and like, really in the moment
Yeah,
of
wow.
that, um, this heated confrontation. And I feel like maybe in that sense it is easier with TV to get it over and done with too, because if you go through it too many times, I feel like that would be the continuity would break there too, because like, if I'm, I said, like, I work up a feverish sweat, and all this, and then I got to go back and do it, and then they got to cut in between it. You can even kind of see it on some levels of TV, um, but even more so, because like I said, it moves so quick. And um, like, I was there one day where I wasn't doing much, but they had to keep, there was this intricate camera move and a bunch of different moving parts, and everyone's going this way and that way. So it just really took a lot of time just to, they'd have to rehearse over and over and over, right? So just to get the timing right. And it's just amazing because I learned so much just by that onset um, thing. But as far as like the character, I identify with the cop obviously too, and the that was a little that's a really minor role, but I once again work with the director where she was saying, describing it, she'd kind of walk through the scene and tell me what it is, and then I am trying to identify with some of the feelings and everything of the cop, and get in that place too. Like, I've done several cop roles, and so that's always kind of the case, you
Wow.
know.
Wow, just a lot of fun, and thank you for sharing that. You're also in Shifters, right? What do you play? Is that like a sci-fi kind of?
That's like a sci-fi web series project, and I was on different capacities on that, but I played like a scientist character, James Butler. Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that. Now we're going to talk about Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And because that's one of got a huge budget. I looked at the budget on there and it's really up there. and has some, very well-known names as well, or the lead actress is very well known, and then Old Crow. But I did want to I want to talk about film analysis because I know you're a film buff like me. You love film and you love film analysis and talking about it. And so do I. And I do want to thank all the people out there that have brought us together for film analysis, because it's so important. But Erik, why is it important to study film and film techniques? Um, why do you think that is, as an actor or an actress? What what does it do? Does it give the actor or actress a different perspective on film? Why is it so important to talk about film analysis?
Yeah, I think that it's really important for anybody that's trying to pursue film or interested in it, to really dig into the archives and see what's come before. Um, not well. I'll just back up because I was watching a masterclass with Martin Scorsese, and he says that you go not to learn, basically, but just for the experience. And um, the unexpected things that come out of the intent that you go in with, you're basically going to come out the other end with another project. Basically, I'm summarizing, of course, but um, I feel that like this case where I said the director of East New York was an actor, and I feel like he was really relatable, that we could talk in terms of, okay, do you want to like this or that, really really shorthand language of that dialogue that actors and directors can come up with, and actors maybe can talk to each other and know what they're talking about, and some directors might not understand that. But I feel like taking old examples of film, analyzing them, you'll see what's come before, and you can kind of use that as building up your language. And if something's happened in this movie, you can just refer to it really quick. And so for that instance, you can just say, all right, like they did in that. And I know that a lot of movies, and I was watching a Quentin, or I saw a Quentin Tarantino quote the other day that said something to the effect that um, basically people just don't know what films he's stolen from. And if you go back, you can kind of see that, right? I've shared images with you that you can see that
Yeah.
there's a direct relation. And so I do feel like film is that language that continually builds off of each other, like the dictionary, they publish a new one every couple of years because it's changing, evolving, and
Hmm.
upgrades. And that kind of language extends into film. And me, I like to talk about paintings in the films that are um, referenced from film, or like the House in Psycho and Edward Hopper painting, those kind of things, so that it's a carryover from our past art tradition. And then so a film is kind of like taking a painting and adding music to it, and then movement, right?
Yeah.
So I just think it's kind of that evolutionary step. So I feel like if we go back and trace that, and um like if you saw Barbie, I talked about that. You wouldn't get the references to say like Stanley Kubrick, um but they're there. And so if you go back,
Amazing.
and study that history, you'll kind of pick up on those. And just kind of for the love of it too, because like a Wizard of Oz or something that's on like basically every year, and people have grown up with it. Maybe not so much anymore in the internet age, but like Christmas Story and all these kind of classic movies were on every year, um, that just kind of enrich our culture, I think, and
Hmm.
uh, help us bond in some ways. And so I feel like, yeah, like um, I think you'll be very educated if you step on set and have a good command of the history of cinema.
Absolutely. And I like Scrooged, Scrooged.
Yeah,
That's a remake, but it's so great because it's set in the, TV movie entertainment industry, right? And Bill Murray, he's so funny.
yeah.
So, yeah, there's just a lot of wonderful films out there. And I was going to ask you, what was the first film you remember, Eric, seeing in the theater?
Well, see, I remember seeing Star Wars in the drive-in. I remember seeing Superman in the theater, in the Liberty Theater. Um, and what was that? That was like late 70s, I think, or early
Okay.
80s. Um, but it might have been Superman too. I'm not sure. But I remember walking out of that theater, and they've closed that theater and yeah, but
Where was that? What state
it,
was that in?
that's in Walla Walla, Washington.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you went you with your family?
Yeah, my dad took me to, I remember him taking me to a few movies there, and my uncle had worked at the theater a couple of times. He told us how to get into the balcony so we could sit up there and watch the movies, and those were always great experiences. That was a really classic theater downtown Walla Walla. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, so um, incidentally, that I guess Russell played baseball in Walla Walla for a short spell.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and Adam West had gone to high school there too. So
That's so
a couple of
cool.
claims to fame.
Now, don't they, I've heard that Walla Walla, Washington has great onions. That's where the onions,
Hmm.
is that right?
Yep, that's
Okay.
Walla Walla Sweets. They're the best.
Are they?
Um, yeah, yeah. If you've never had one, they're they're great because you can almost eat them raw, or
Are
some
they
people
are they
can.
the white ones, Eric?
They're kind of yellowish, but
Okay.
yeah, the soil's really great there, and so for the last, I don't know, half century, wine's been coming up. So there's a lot of wineries there now too.
Very nice.
So
Very
it's
nice.
it's pretty agricultural.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Eric,
Well, what are the complex issues of our time, our modern time, that should be made into film? What are the complex issues of our time that should be made into film?
it's a good question, because there's so many now, right? But
Yeah.
um, there's one movie I just watched was American Fiction. They seem to deal with some the topics um, really well, and I just think it's such a clever way they did the film, and and treated the subject too. Um, but I don't know, as far as like mm, I think we have to address some major um, things with like energy going forward, Um, we seem to be in a lot of crisis,
Yeah.
and and I don't know how we're going to get a grasp on this, but just kind of the misinformation, and nobody seems to know what the truth is anymore.
Right.
So that's going to be kind of hard to tackle too, because since everything's skewed like that, it's kind of hard to have, um, you know, a takeaway on these things. And
Absolutely. Like with holograms coming up, what's real, what's not, and
yeah,
and then AI, what's real, what's not, and then fake news and what's news and what isn't, right? Is that what you're saying, Eric?
yeah, yeah, and I think we could tackle subjects like this, but the it's just going to be hard it's going to be a hard watch for a lot of people, I feel like, for some of these topics. And some people have said it's pretty insidious how, like, say, AI, it feels like it's slowly creeping in to where we won't have a choice,
Mm-hmm.
because like everybody's just going to go along with it
Right.
eventually. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, for instance, that Uber and the food delivery systems, um, COVID was a good time for that to, for them to test that out or whatever, as far as an efficiency plan, get everybody used to delivering food and have it brought to your door,
Yeah.
and get everybody having a job that way. But now slowly, because they've already talked about drones delivering things, right? So
Right.
slowly that could roll out, and those kind of things happen. And of course we do have movies of that, and you could say, watch the Terminator and say, oh, James Cameron told us that was going to happen, right? but
Right. Yeah.
but but those are kind of the things where, back then when it was science fiction, it's like, oh, cool, this could happen. And now that it's threatening to happen, it's like, oh no,
Yes,
that
there's a
that
big question mark, right?
mhm. So, um, whatever issues there are, I feel like there's got to be some sort of, moral to that, or outcome, and those are going to be hard to deal with. But yeah, there's several other issues today that that need to be addressed for sure. I don't
I
know.
agree.
We've been fed a lot of stuff that they said they were going to deliver, or this is the way it was going to be, or
Mhm.
like, we're seeing a lot of problems with electric vehicles now, where we didn't have the numbers before, right? Like,
Right.
or the time to kind of let these things play out or develop.
Very
I have
fascinating time, though. I still think it's incredible to be alive,
It
and
is.
so thankful and grateful for all of the new things that we are experiencing. Um, it's definitely interesting. And I wanted to talk about if you could act in a film, Eric, that was being recreated, what movie would it be and what role would you play?
Oh man, that's tough. There are a lot. The first, for some reason, the first thing that popped into my head was Remo Williams. Have you ever seen that?
No.
That's where he's running around. Remember when the Statue of Liberty was in scaffolding for the centennial celebration? Remo Williams was up on top of there jumping around, and what's his name? Fred. Shoot, I'm forgetting his last name, but he's trying to run away from the bad guys, and he's running all over that scaffolding on the Statue of Liberty. But it's a I remember when it came out and just being pretty thrilled with it. And I had watched it here not too long ago. Um, that kind of role anyway, where there's a little bit of action, where um, he discovers something about himself, of course, and has to go deeper to reveal his inner strength and those kind of um, maybe give a positive message by the time the film's done.
Sounds like a layered, deep character you would like to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that answer. Great answer, Eric. What is your advice to other actors? What's the most important advice to other actors and actresses?
Mm. Well, I guess the most important thing is that I've heard is not to give up because that's the constant struggle that it's every day, and
Mhm.
so you just got to keep going, and you can't give up, and that you specifically got to give yourself something to do every day, um, and
Yeah.
you know it's just got to be focused on what if you're working towards your goal and your plan, and make sure you're doing something towards that every day. The craft is going to be your foundation and the rock you come back to. So um, that's something that people can work on themselves individually or with a group. You can always do a monologue or a scene, if you've got another person,
Mhm.
and go back and forth with them, and just to try to be learning,
Learning
study
all
that,
the
like,
time.
if yeah, and go back.
Classes, that kind of
um because yeah, back to that other question, like another role would be to go deeper, to do some maybe Shakespeare down the line, or a solid role of that, or um something maybe not preachy, but I was thinking of like William Dafoe. I had watched Temptation of Christ, and
Oh,
seeing
wow. Yeah.
him play roles from Jesus to, you know, basically the devil, everything in between, um, and having that kind of range.
Mhm.
And so, I don't know if I'd have a favorite character, but yeah, to to get to play those contrasts, and um, play that character in a story that lets people learn a morality of a situation or some moral of a story.
I love that. Great answer. And we need more of that in the world. We need more stories like that, I feel, because we all need a little bit of guidance and we all need structure. Isn't that right, Eric?
I think so. I've heard, kids crave structure, and
Hmm.
if you don't have that in there, then left to their own devices, it goes can go off the rails.
Yes, it's better for our world. So, speaking of our world, in the film world, you also participated in Kate Blanchett's Where'd You Go, Bernadette? Now, this had a huge budget. How did you get that role? And because this was a big blockbuster budgeted movie, tell us about that. Where was this and how did you get it?
So basically, yeah, that's not really a role. That's another one of the background. So I just got to be a part of, a general crew at location. I think we were at SeaTac, um, uh, loading, can't think of it. But anyway, SeaTac Airport. So a lot of people coming in and going, and all this excitement and everything. And I was just part of that stuff. So one scene where they were coming in a I don't know, suburban or something like that. They were just parking and then walking into the airport. So I was part of that, and um, yeah, that was interesting. Um, like they had everything ready, and then a plane landed or something, and all these people came through the airport. Like we had to hold and wait for them, and but yeah, once I heard that Richard Linklater was doing a film in Seattle, and um, at that time wanting to get on to a bigger set, see what that's like, learn as much as possible, and getting to see one of my heroes and a legend
Wow, that's
um,
so
of the
cool.
film world. Yeah, and then to um, have him right there and directing the scene and just doing a little bit of that.
Amazing, amazing, Eric. Thank you for that. And then also Old Crow. Tell us about this film and how you participated in it.
Okay, this was a short film, part of the 48 hour. I don't know if you've heard of
Yes.
that competition. Okay,
Yeah, so
so
great. Wow, what
so
fun. So you did that.
yeah,
You did,
what that?
wow.
Yeah, I've done a few of those with different crews and everything. And this one I got to direct, and so we had a writing session of you get the assignment, then you go write it, right? So once you get your character and whatever the scope of the project, I think it's a character name and the genre you get, things like that, then you immediately start writing, and then you go out and get to film it. So that was a great experience to work with everybody in that capacity, to be, there's kind of a writing circle, and you get to be a part of that
Mm-hmm.
in some capacity, and say like, well, okay, we're going to have to find a location for that, or that would work with this location, or we'll have, so coordinating those kind of things, and then to into the execution of that and seeing how that folds together, and having um, solid people around you that know what you're talking about and can execute, uh, way better than you could imagine things, and have the tools and resources to do it, um,
All on a time limit, right?
and yeah, and a deadline, and so having that script come out, that's like most important thing you can do, is get that finished real quick.
Was that fun to
But
do? Was that fun to direct, Eric?
yeah, that was real fun to direct. I mean, the actors are phenomenal, and um,
Do you follow a crow around? Or what is the
well, so basically, you have to kind of set your uh, get your ducks in a line in a row, right before, get them in a row, line them up, and beforehand, because everything's so quick. So
Yeah.
um, that, like, you just have to make sure that you have kind of like a backup plans for
Is it
things.
on YouTube? Can people watch it on YouTube or Vimeo or where is it?
Yeah, you can't watch it right now,
Okay.
but um, yeah, hopefully, because it would be nice to turn that into a uh,
Yeah.
longer thing.
Well,
And
wonderful.
I want to send you a clip, a version of kind of a trailer teaser of that.
I'd love to. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see it. And sounds, I just love the title, so it sounds like it's going to be
that happened to be actually because the whole crow thing. That cemetery is where Bruce and Brandon Lee are buried.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, to speak of, crow,
Uh-huh, that's right.
um, the
Wow.
crow.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Eric, I have enjoyed this so very much. I'm going to put the Killers of the Flower Moon back on because this was just like so exciting to talk to you, and I just enjoyed it so much. So incredible. And I've had so much fun talking with you and getting to know you and about your films and film analysis and Happy all of that. Valentine's Day, everyone, right, Eric?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. And Eric, do you want to give a shout out or thank you to anybody? I wanted to ask you.
Well, I guess Clubhouse for one, because like you said, the connection there, Judah Ray. Um, um, my family, I'd like to say hi out there.
Hi, family.
For supporting me and yeah, friends and family.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Great. And just so wonderful. So thank you so much, Eric, for being a fabulous guest. And we're going to do our heart messages now. And so I'm going to go first. Our heart message is whatever kind of message you want to share with the world. On this week, my heart message is, um, we're right now in between tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and we're kind of still in, a little bit of winter. We haven't quite hit spring yet. Do you know what I mean? It's still kind of
Mm,
cold. In fact, Eric, you mentioned that the north, New York, the east
mm,
area is um, having a nor'easter come in, another storm. So I just want to send lots of love out to everybody who's going through either a storm, whether it's the weather or a personal storm. I want to send hearts and love out to them. And spring is coming. That's what I wanted to share. Springtime is coming. So there's hope. And that's my message, my heart message for this week. Eric, over to you. What's your heart message?
my heart message. Do I have to
You
do
can. You can do whatever you
um
want to do.
yeah, I guess similar to that, heart message to everyone is hang in there. I know we're going through some tough times and you know, um if you have a strong heart connection to someone, reach out, let them know and share that.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Eric. It's so true. And reach out to those people that you connect with. I love that. Beautifully said, Eric. Well, thank you so much. I hope you had a lot of fun on the show. And
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
yes, thank you. So, anything else you'd like to share before we close out?
Uh, I think I'm complete.
Uh,
In the clubhouse tradition, we blow up the room,
we're gonna
make all the
land.
sound up,
We're
make
gonna.
all the sound effects. Boom, 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 brr, brr, brr.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Eric, once again. And until we see you next time, stay well, be kind to each other, stay healthy and happy, and see you soon next week. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.